We are just hours away from another Republican debate, and everyone is getting ready to go after the Donald. But who has the most to win and the most to lose? Then, the state monitors have come up with recommendations for the troubled East Ramapo School District. Now, everyone is monitoring the reaction in East Ramapo to see whether the plan will fly. And Governor Cuomo, he's speaking out about guns in the wake of yet another mass shooting. We're going to tell you how he wants to crack down on gun violence and debate whether anything will finally get done when it comes to Albany. Good evening and welcome to RFL. I am Richard French. Right now, the undercard is underway for the next Republican debate. And in a little over 2 hours time from now, the leading candidates, they'll take the stage in Vegas. And this one has more storylines than the new Star Wars movie. It's a brand new Republican race. Senator Ted Cruz seeing a surge in the polls, neck and neck with Donald Trump in Iowa. And behind closed doors, questioning if Trump's fit to be president in audio obtained by the New York Times.
Now that's a question of strength, but it's also a question of judgment.
Trump, still leading in the national polls, is fighting back.
You look at the way he's dealt with the Senate, where he goes in there like a, frankly, like a little bit of a maniac.
Among the 9 candidates on CNN's main debate stage, Cruz is now next to Trump, along with Ben Carson, whose numbers have been slipping.
This is a very fluid contest.
So if you look at some of the polling, terrorism, the #1 polling issue, Donald Trump plays to that, and he plays well to that.
Terrorism is expected to be a hot topic tonight with Trump's recent controversial proposal.
A total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
A new ABC News Washington Post poll shows that 59% of Republicans support a ban on Muslims. 38% say it's the wrong thing to do. But among all adults, those numbers shift, with 3 in 5 Americans thinking that it is not what the American course of action ought to be. Now, heading into the debate, Donald Trump's numbers there have soared to new highs on the national level. This poll from Monmouth University shows Trump at 41% and nearly tripling the closest competitor, Ted Cruz. Donald also has a healthy lead in New Hampshire, but Cruz has a double-digit lead in Iowa with those caucuses now less than 2 months away. All right, let's bring in our panel to get into this and so much more. Tonight, Democratic State Senator David Carlucci joins us again, and to his left, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author and fellow Rockland resident. Across the way, TJ McCormick, a Republican consultant, kind of have to join us, and Andrew Whitman, our senior political correspondent. All right, I'm talking about the GOP, so I'm talking to you, my friend. Everybody loves to dismiss, you know what, this is small band in the macro sense that Trump's appealing to, but even if Mama's almost right, you take 40% of them, you add on top of it whatever Cruz is getting and whatever Carson's got left, you're starting to approach 3 out of 5, 2 out of 3 Republican voters, at least they're answering the polls. So for all the folks I've had around this table, whether they're national, state, regional folks who say, it's only October, Rich, it's only November, it's only December, at a certain point, maybe he represents the Republican Party, whether you guys like it or not.
Yeah, and and those of us who are saying, hey, look, it's only November, it's only October, it's only December, we're actually, the other half of our brain is going, it's December and he's still there and he's growing. Oh, Lord. And, listen, yeah, you add up the 40% on top, and then the other guys, you throw in their pocket change. But that's still about the likely voter. And so, you start dwindling down that number, and then you extrapolate those numbers for what does that mean on the national level, and it doesn't add up to a win. Because also, think about who this guy is appealing to, that Republican base, that doesn't come nearly close to the number of Latinos he would need to attract, and women he would, I'm saying it doesn't. I hope, no, look, if he does and he wins. But if not, that's, so it's really playing with fire. Then again, there's this interesting faction of people who say, look, man, Reagan got people to come out, Republicans who hadn't voted in years, those Republicans who stayed away and protested and not. I still don't see that being enough to do the math. I just don't. I mean, it's interesting, and you love the year of the outsider because it makes great fodder, makes great debates, makes great conversation. But oh boy, it comes down to Electoral College, and I don't know about that. Brokered
conventions and everything before that.
More great TV, but still.
Well, let's get to the great TV tonight, Andrew, because as we've seen before, everyone who thinks that Trump all he does is love to throw Molotov verbal cocktails, he's really been more of a counterpuncher if you watch these debates here. Sometimes the first debate he thought that Fox News, and I think fairly so, singled him out right at jump. But if form holds, is the prevailing logic that they're going to all go after Trump or he's going to go after Cruz? I don't know if form holds.
I think there'll be a certain degree of going after Trump. I don't know if Cruz really wants to blow this thing up with Trump out in public, because they're sort of going after the same general grouping of voters in Iowa in particular. So I'm not sure how eager Ted Cruz is going to be to get into it. Look, Trump says stupid things in these debates, and when you get to foreign policy stuff, he disappears from the stage. He's not had terribly good debate performances up until now, and it doesn't seem to hurt him. So I think you can almost throw Trump out of the matrix for tonight and figure out what everybody else has to do and how everybody else has to score their points. And I think for people who aren't Trump or Cruz, it's going to be a pretty crucial night. I think Chris Christie has a lot going tonight. I think John Kasich has a lot going tonight. I think Rubio needs to look presidential. I mean, these are the people that have to try to attract the non-Trump, non-Carson crowd.
Dom, it's funny. You talk to the casual observer. We do this stuff every night here, so sometimes I think that we lose the forest from the trees. If they said, all right, what's happened so far in the Republican primaries? They'll probably say, a lot of people are already gone out of this thing. Jeb Bush, was he even there, okay? But they can tell you the following: build a wall, keep out all Muslims, whether we're doing religious tests or whatever else, and stop the Syrians from coming, okay? And then carpet bomb, pick a country in the Middle East. Trump's basically authored all of those statements. He's dictated terms for this. Now, I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but you've known the Donald for more than a few years. Do you think he goes into every night, he's certainly not cramming on foreign policy to go up the learning curve, is he going out saying, I want to have 2 or 3 sound bites and this is what they're going to be? It doesn't matter who starts the fight with me, whatever else. I got something I'm going to go after Cruz tonight with. This is what my big line's going to be, where they'll play in the morning package tomorrow. What do you think he thinks when he goes into it?
I know what he does from the personal relationship. Everything he does is planned and staged. Everything. He's a master showman. You can call him what you want. Don't call him stupid. And so he already knows, and let's be honest, all of the candidates tonight, they know what their strategies are, as you report on every single night. But Trump is going to attack Cruz with almost everything he has tonight. Cruz is going to turn the other cheek because he doesn't want to. First of all, you don't want to go into a war with a live wire
but
like Donald Trump.
Didn't he already pick it by saying in those recordings the Times got their hold of him, we played a little bit, that, you know what, he's not really presidential. You can't trust him basically with his finger on the button. And then I'm basically going to use a strategy of hug him to death so he doesn't know what to do. And then once he fades away, I've got his support. He already picked the fight.
Translation, I'm afraid of Donald Trump to go at a battle with him publicly. That's what he's really saying.
I think he's got the fight whether he likes it or not.
Right.
I mean, from you watch the debates, every debate, Donald Trump is going after the front runner, the one closest to him. So if he doesn't attack Ted Cruz tonight, it'll be a big surprise. But it's almost comical to watch. I mean, the rhetoric that's being spewed, particularly from Donald Trump. I mean, the fact that he wants to ban a religious group of people from our country. I mean, our founding fathers would be spinning in their grave. And to think that that's catching fire with the base is really scary.
Well, and to me, I'm not trying to be Pollyannish. I mean, you go back to the dawn of the beginnings of our country. Always politics were ugly, and sometimes they ended in duels. So I'm not trying to make it like the great old days always. However, if you think about, with so many important things, whoever's going to be sitting in the Oval Office next, the ugliness and the nastiness that's gone into this, I think it's been terrible for the Republican Party, who I think have had a huge opportunity, and they got to worry about down ticket stuff here, depending on who comes out of the primary process. But we're debating, or we're having a conversation, and the plurality of Republicans agree. Forget the morality of it. How do you know when you look at somebody, what religion are you? How much you're practicing? That makes no sense whatsoever.
It's
right?
silly. And Trump's greatest transgression, actually, as a Republican now, in the business of being a Republican, his greatest transgression, as far as I'm concerned, was taking the spotlight, the glowing glare of criticism all over the president, and the terrible low point of that awful, uninspiring speech on terrorism from the Oval Office last week, where even and also prior to that in the Philippines, on foreign soil, playing politics, he had the New York Times going after him and everybody on the left as well as the right. And there's Donald Trump basically taking all the pressure off him by putting the light on himself and talking about banning all Muslims. That, to me, was his greatest sin in terms of the business of politics.
Like, there's not going to be any criticism of President Obama at the debate tonight. I think there'll be a fair share. I think there'll be a fair share.
Because legitimate people were starting to say, that's it? Right. That's your plan for ISIS, Mr. President? Right. Where's a little bit of, I mean, we criticize Trump, rightfully so, for all theater, right? Sure. All style, no substance. But there was zero theater from the president trying to connect here, and somehow Donald Trump made that okay by running his mouth. But I'm sorry. The scariest thing is, do the people in the audience today in Vegas, are they clapping when he says, we're going to ban all Muslims till I say different? I mean, that to me, that's going to be interesting. The reaction you get in the hall, the reaction you get from the stage. The party's got to decide at one point if they together are going to not be afraid of Trump anymore and throw everything at him, let the chips fall where they may. I think they got to make up their minds sooner or later. All right, we want to get you involved in our conversation, so head over to Facebook and Twitter and sound off on our question tonight. Who do you think has the most to win and lose with tonight's debate here? And certainly for some candidates, this may be the beginning of the end. All right, coming up next, the fallout from the recommendations from the monitor from the East Ramapo schools. We've got a senator here who can tell us firsthand some of the reaction from that report here. And let's just say, not a lot of folks, or not at least certain folks, are doing cartwheels after the report we got.